Blog Talk Radio. Chatting with Nat is a podcast for independent artists seeking to speak their truth and to break down barriers. We host honest conversations that help to guide and empower artists. Speak your truth and set yourself free. Let your voice be heard. Hi, everyone. It's Chatting with Nat. It's Natalie Jeans and Natalie Jean. Today we have the honor of having country Americana singer-songwriter Levi Moore, an award-winning country Americana singer-songwriter with multiple nominations for both Artist and Vocalist of the Year, including being named the 2021 Georgia Country Awards Male Artist of the Year, following being a top 6 finalist in 2020. Levi Moore presents his music with an easy, straightforward style and a smoothly honest baritone voice. As a writer, the sincerity in his often introspective songs can be traced back to legends like Alan Jackson and Gordon. Let's give him a round of applause.
Audio Jungle.
Hi, Levi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
I'm alive. I'm doing okay. No, it's my honor to have you on. I've known you for a while. I had to have you on. How have you been doing this past, crazy, past 3 years? It's been crazy.
It has been nothing short of crazy. That's just for sure. But honestly, I've done reasonably well, I think. I know last year I was really busy, perhaps some of the busiest I've been. And also, so far this year it's shaping up to be real good, and that's all I'll say about it at this point, because I said the same thing at the beginning of 2020. And
right.
It went south in a hurry.
Well,
So,
a little pandemic thing, elections, George Floyd, the world just turned upside down.
People are just, everything is so, people are pulled straight, so thinly these days, pulled in a million different directions at once. And, it's hard on everybody.
This is the one time we all can say that we all been through the same thing. The world, the entire world has been through the same thing. So everyone, you would think, would understand, how everybody's feeling out there in this, and what we've been through. Every morning I wake up, I have to pinch myself to see if we're not in the 1930s, 1940s, because you really wouldn't think that something like this would happen in 2020, 2021, 2022. COVID has decided to have some babies. The babies have decided to have some cousins. So it's just, can't wait for the day that we're just so done with all of this. It's kind of crazy. So one of the questions I like to ask people that come on here is this. So during all of this, obviously the pandemic is a con. There were deaths, people have lost limbs, people have lost friends, family members, you name it. But there are pros to the pandemic. One of the things that I've seen, which is crazy for me around here, is family members walking outside together, because before the pandemic, you didn't see a lot of that. There are colleagues of mine that decided to cut back on work because they realized that they weren't spending enough time with their families. The pollution level actually went down when we weren't out in the street. Mm-hmm. So the animals in the trees were just like, oh, this is great. I hope they don't come back. Then I read several articles about people deciding to quit their jobs, because one of the things that made people realize is that, obviously we need money to survive, but it's almost better to do something that you love rather than something that you're just doing just to, not just to pass the time, but just to make money. And artists,
right.
A lot of artists that I interviewed said that they either decided to rebrand, they decided they wanted to be more of an effective player in life. A lot of changes decided people had decided to make a lot of changes in their lives, or they decided to say that there was a lot of self-reflection. So during this time, did you take time to self-reflect? Did you change anything? Are you still the same? What do you want to present out to the world with your artistry?
I think it's virtually impossible in a situation like that, and for people not to change to some degree.
Right.
And I think it's a good thing. To allude for a minute back to what you were saying, about people reevaluating the reason why they work or the jobs they have and why they do what they do, to spend time with family and things like that. And I think from time to time, in this case it was the world, but many times in many different areas and degrees, the people as a whole, we need those little moments of challenge or hardship to force us to reevaluate.
Right.
And I mean, as we've talked about before, and we both know, as all artists know, you don't grow very much if you're not in a comfort zone.
Right.
You have to. I mean, there's moments where you step onto a little bit bigger stage than you've been on before. Those are the moments where the most growth happens.
Right.
And of course, we'd all like to be able to have those moments on our own terms. Such as stepping onto a stage, something that we've worked for. But sometimes it comes along just like the pandemic did.
Right.
It sneaks up on everybody and blindsides everybody, and you're forced into doing it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I went through time. I know just as an artist, I started doing some live videos and my little sunset sessions, because I'm been very fortunate with where I live, and the sun set right perfectly behind me that time of year, and I started doing them 2 to 3, 4 nights a week, and developed a decent little following online, and eventually it got my little community of neighbors and people would start. They were going stir crazy, and so they'd all bring their little golf carts over and park out in the yard, and just listen, and I'd play to the live video and have people in the yard listening and hanging out and keeping their distance, of course, but just getting out of the house and doing something and seeing other human beings. And it really helped me grow as being able to interact with people and feeling more comfortable on stage, talking and sort of getting out of my head, stepping back for myself a little bit, and just feeling. And I grew quite a bit doing that.
Right.
And of course, I was fortunate being down here in Georgia and South Carolina. They've not been as stringent and as hesitant to go back to somewhat of a normal status.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to go back to work relatively quickly in the summer of 2020. But it was, I know for me and all the artists I talked to, and had so much more fun going back. There was a renewed sense of, this is why we do this.
Mhm.
Not just for the money, not just for being out and about, but I mean, we enjoy playing for folks and having people sing along and making people happy, and it was for me, it was rejuvenating in a lot of ways.
Right. Yeah. It's been so topsy turvy. This whole pandemic thing has brought out a lot of realness in people. There's a lot of things I didn't know, a lot of people that I learned during the pandemic and the rest of all the other crap that we were going through during this time. You know, there's some friends I still have and some friends I don't. That's just life.
Right.
Because I just
well, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. It takes, again, I mean, that's those little times of hardship.
Yep.
You know, and I use that term loosely, but in sort of that, in this sense, sort of an umbrella term of sorts. But those times of hardship is where you find out both oftentimes what you are made of and what other folks are made of.
Amen to that.
And it's not. I mean, you always hope for the best, but you never really know until you get into those situations, and it's important to know.
Hallelujah. Amen to that. I agree.
There's been a lot that has changed in the world. I wish we would. Of course, I wish a lot of things would. People's tensions weren't so high. Yeah, I mean,
that'd be nice.
Well, I mean, there's so many things that there was a moment there when the pandemic started, and a few little moments throughout it that people, as happens with those in those times of hardship, they sort of forget the rest of it. We were say, okay, well, we're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna do this and do that and then that didn't last very long because it was immediately politicized, as everything is these days. So that's been my main pitch in talking with people lately, is rather than whether it's my family or friends or whoever I find myself discussing such things with, is whether or not different viewpoints are fine and are necessary. It's your ability to a person's ability to listen and think and consider respectfully another side.
Right.
And be willing to change. Be willing to open to the possibility that, and you know me, I'm usually pretty sure of my stances on things.
Right.
But in order to have open conversations like that, you do have to be willing to accept the notion that you might be wrong.
Yeah, you have to be open.
As foreign as that concept seems, a person might be mistaken. There may be, and not through any fault. That's the thing. I mean, what people forget, it's not through any fault of one individual or one group. It could very, very possibly, and most likely, be simple ignorance which is oftentimes used as a demeaning term, but it's not at all. A person cannot have a true ignorance if you just have not experienced something. You can't. I mean, it's impossible to have that particular point of view on something, and that has to be taken into account when you're talking about things, especially important things with people. Is that the perspective that they view things from, either from their previous experiences or from experiencing that which is at hand, are going to be different.
Right. It's interesting because I was being interviewed or having a discussion on a show, and somebody on Facebook was asking a question, and they said, they asked me, well, how is an artist supposed to deal with something that they create that may offend somebody? And, and I told the person, we are living in a world where you could say boo, and that might offend somebody. The world has become extremely sensitive. Yes, there are certain things that are very sensitive to some people and not to some others. That's just life. But we've come to a place where certain things, you could just clap your hands. Oh, no, you can't clap your hands that way. That's the wrong way to clap. People just are very sensitive. So I told the person is that you're an artist. You can create whatever you want. Like I told him, I'm not the type I don't like the N-word, period. I don't care who's it. I don't like it. I don't need to hear it when it's in a song or anything like that. And I ride the Peloton every day, and there's some songs that they play, and it's on there, and I had to grin and bear it. But it's not my favorite thing. But I can't tell somebody not to do something, especially when it comes to artistry. If there's something that you need to say, then it needs to come out and blah, blah, blah. Do your thing. I said, in this world today, no matter what you do, somebody will always find something to say that you offended them with. This is what I see.
Right.
This is what I understand. Yeah. And if a person gets offended by something that you do, I said, there's a turn-off button. There is a turn-off button. They don't have to listen to music. They don't. They could turn you off and go to something else. But there are going to be people that are going to gravitate towards you. They're going to love what you're doing. You can't conform to other people's needs.
No, I think that I absolutely agree with you, and I think that's an important point for people to remember. We live in a world where we're inundated with social media and a barrage of opinion and judgment and
right.
all sorts of things at all times. And I know for me, when it seems I have no interest in. I try to do my best not to be respectful and mindful of everyone.
Right. I try to be
too. And deal with people on an individual basis. Which I know we've talked about before. Because that's when you get into grouping people together, that is the basis of stereotypes and
right.
and things like that. And it's easy to do, but it's wrong to do. And you rob people whenever you do that, no matter how well-intentioned it may be, or how secure you or how right you feel in doing, or correct you feel in doing that kind of thing.
Right.
Or that not correct in doing it, but that there's no harm done in doing it.
Right.
It's impossible to not, by virtue of grouping a large people into one group, you miss so much of the magic of what people are, what individuals are.
Right.
I can't think of anyone I know, or very many people I know, that I just love everything there is about them.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think everybody is that way. There's, but man, if you go through that and people have to check off the boxes on a list in order for you to meet them or appreciate them, well, it's very difficult. You've hardly given them a chance.
That's right. That's right. I agree.
And that's there was a time not very long ago when it was considered extremely rude and improper to discuss health and politics and religion,
right,
and stuff like that in out in public or in an unsolicited manner.
Right.
And that was not that long ago. But in today's world, it has become almost a litmus test to see if you're compatible with someone.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's not, that's impossible circumstance because it goes back to the perspectives and their own life experiences and things.
Right. That is so true.
And so it's never going to be the same. And
that's right.
Anyway. That's
right. Now, let's talk about Levi Moore, the musician here. So what was it about music that you were just like, okay, Levi Moore and music needs to go together? Was it something that you saw, you heard? What happened in your life where you were like, okay, music's my thing, I want to make a career out of it?
There were several little moments along the way. The first one where it went from being just something I enjoy doing and a hobby,
right,
to, hey, maybe this is something I can do.
Right.
It's been, I don't know, 10 years ago now, I guess. I was 23, so 11 years ago. And I was right out of college, and I had a good friend of mine who was a teammate of mine in college who taught me my first 3 chords, and he was there at key moments. He's the one that said, hey, man, sounding better. I think you're about ready to go to an open mic, which is a big, that's always a big step, going from, playing at home to stepping out to your first open mic in front of people.
Right.
And he got me started, and then he was there to encourage me on that, and we were done with football and out of school, and we decided, well, my dad had a real good friend of his from years ago that was a songwriter in Nashville and had been for quite some time. And we go, well, let's drive down there and let's just, the two of us, head down to Nashville for a couple of days and meet with him and see what he has to say. And just go have fun.
Right.
And we did. We had a blast. And that was, we set up, as soon as we got into town, it was cold and blustery, but because we were 23-year-old kids from southern Missouri, we put on a coat and grabbed our guitars and went and stood on some random corner off of Broadway, I think, and sat there, played a few songs, and man, earned a couple of dollars. And we were freezing and nobody was out and everybody was in a bad mood, and so it wasn't. It was. But it was fun. We had a good time.
Right.
But then we went, and the next morning we got up and went and had our meeting with the fellow, and each of us played a few songs for the man. And decidedly my friends were much better than mine. But I was very new into songwriting and just scratching the surface of trying to put rhyming words together in a decent meter. But he complimented me on the tone of my voice at the time, and say, hey man, you've got a great tone, great sound. Keep writing, keep playing, keep working at it. I think there's something, you're not there yet, but you've got something,
right?
That's marketable. And all of a sudden, that was sort of a light bulb moment. I said, well, okay, well, maybe. And so I went back home. I continued. That was really the extent of our meeting. Nothing magical happened. We just had a good time, but it set me on a course, or began to set me on a course. And I got back home, started writing and playing more and more. Got a few more introductions and opportunities. And not too much longer than about a year or so after that was when I went to work in the oil field. Because I'd sort of been, by that previous experience in Nashville and with a few other things, I had been bit by then, by the music bug. And my degree is in animal science, and I was training horses and working a couple of cattle ranches and things like that. But I was getting antsy.
Right.
23, coming 24, and I was getting antsy, sitting around small towns in southern Missouri, and not really. So, man, this is definitely not what I want to spend my time doing.
Right.
I was playing a few weekend gigs at a cool little bar called Times Lost, which I think is closed up shop now, unfortunately, and a couple other places that were nice enough to let me come in and make racket. After I got to the oil field, because I left, from the time I sent off an application, I drove down, and my application was well received. So I drove down and met the manager, talked with him for an evening, and packed my bags and left. Was all in the span of about 3 days or 10 days. It was a very quick thing. I was ready to go.
Right.
I figured, well, I'll keep playing. I mean, I'll just move down. I moved down to right around Conway, Arkansas, and well, I'll find places to play, do something. But we got busy, and
right.
It was about 6 or 8 months before I did a whole lot more than pick up my guitar. I didn't play I played no shows. I wrote no songs. I didn't do anything. I barely picked it up for at least 6 months, and probably the better part of a year.
Right.
And then I don't even recall exactly how I met the fellow. I don't know, somewhere out and about, and we got talking about music. And I said, well, we're having a little jam session. If you want to come join us, play a few of your songs, and it's sort of like a open mic jam session kind of thing. I said, well, yeah, I'd love to. So I went back and polished it. Tried to remember a couple of my songs, got my guitar in tune, and I took off. And I went down there, and when that was when it set in. I had so much fun playing and just being around music and listening and singing my songs and trying, and a couple of cover songs that I enjoyed doing at the time. And when I left out of there on my drive home, that was when I said, okay, after a 8-month drought
right.
of not playing at all, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and said, okay, this is I'm not going to give this up anymore.
Right.
You know, I'm always going to play. I'm always going to do something. I'm not going to bury this away any longer. And so from then I went to, after that, we've talked about that in the past. My schedule in the oil field, we were so busy. I mean, because the type of work I was doing was a 24/7 kind of thing, rather than a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off arrangement. We were working all the time, and so there was an open mic at a very cool bar called the Afterthought in Little Rock.
Okay.
And I would drive down, and they had a really neat open mic. I met some really wonderful people, and I hope I can go back and reconnect with them and play some music, because they had a profound impact on what I was playing and encouraging me to continue playing and to build on that idea that, hey, this is, something you should pursue. And it was so much fun. And I would call the man who was running the open. It was on a Wednesday night. I'd call him sometime Wednesday afternoon and see what time slot I could get in at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, something. And I would get home from work around 8:30.
Right.
Get cleaned up and take off and drive as quickly as I could down to the bar and run in there, talk to a few folks, and you got to play 2 songs, maybe 3 on a rare night if it was slow. Most nights you got 2 songs. And I'd play my 2 songs and then hang out and listen to people and talk to folks for a while, and I'd drive back home at 1 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 4 o'clock and go back to work. but I did that every week for probably a year and a half.
Wow.
And that was all the time I had. I mean, that was sort of the extent of my music in those days, was just going and playing a couple of songs. And that was, I mean, we just worked all the time, so there was no time to book anything, and I couldn't, even if I did have time, because we were on call 24/7, I couldn't actually book anything because I might get called into work.
Right.
And so finally, it came time to get out of that, and so I'm gonna pick somewhere to go. I knew I wasn't ready. I've had plenty of people ask me since I've been down here on the coast playing, so why didn't you go to Nashville or something? And I wasn't ready. I would have been swallowed whole in Nashville. I didn't know what I was doing. I was nowhere near ready vocally, or nowhere near ready as a songwriter.
Right.
And so I said, I'm going to go up there and just waste my time. I need to go somewhere and practice, develop my craft a little bit more. And I was born in Savannah, and I'd only been back from the time I left Savannah to the time I came back for the first time was 25 years or so. And I said, well, I think I want to go back to the coast and hang around Savannah for a while. I'd always been sort of felt like I was pulled down this way.
Right.
And so I got very fortunate with a nice place to live. It's a beautiful spot. And I threw myself into playing music, and that's all I've done since I've been down here for the last about 5 years now.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. I mean, I'm trying to follow in your footsteps, do music full time now. Mine is, I record music, and I haven't been so gung-ho about going out and performing. I should be, but, I do perform. And a lot of people are calling me to do live streams, but I do love music. That's the one thing, when I asked the question about, introspection during the pandemic, I really thought about, okay, this is the opportunity to leave my job for many reasons, and to really try to do this music thing, because that's what makes me happy. Plus, when I got sick, my brain just went fluey. How important is it for you to be authentic in your songwriting and your music and your playing?
It has become increasingly important to me. It started off being sort of the end-all, be-all, because I grew up, as mentioned in that bio, in the introduction, I grew up listening to not so much country, but Gordon Lightfoot and Bob Dylan and you're the quintessential songwriters, the storytellers. And there was so much realism in what they did and what was happening in the world and around them and their own life experiences and things like that. And then you have Alan Jackson and Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, all those guys, the legends of country music. That's what they wrote about. I mean, they wrote about what they did and what was happening to them. And those songs are still around. They're still around today, and they're still loved and cherished today.
Right.
And the songs from the songwriters back in the 60s and 70s, when there was so much, another time of great social movement and change and unrest. Yeah, they were songs that were written from the heart about what was happening, and they were still around, and amazingly still many times appropriate can be applied to what's happening today.
Right. Very true. Very true.
And one of the best examples, or at least the first example off the top of my head, is For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield.
Mm.
You can take that, and every word of it can apply to any given situation today.
Yep. It's true. It's very true.
So that was my, to answer your question, that because of those being my primary influences, and it became very important to me to write in a similar fashion, because it's what I related to. And it was interesting to me, because I started out very much doing that, very, very much wanting to write story songs and what I felt, and one of the earliest songs I wrote was What I Wouldn't Give, which is a song I loved. I haven't played it in a long time. Not sure if I even remember all of it now, but I did get the opportunity early on while I was living in Arkansas at the time, to go into Nashville and record it as a demo track. But during the discussion, it was a long song. It was something like 4.5, 5 minutes. And they said, well, we like the song. Can you cut it down to 3.5 minutes?
Right.
And I tried, and I chipped away at it and tried, but I kept feeling like I was losing some authenticity. I wasn't telling the story and it wasn't conveying what I wanted to by cutting pieces out of it. And so I finally just said, no, I think I'll just leave it the way it is. And so that's what we did. And so early on, I was pretty stubborn about the way I wanted my songs portrayed.
Right.
But then, as I started playing out more, and once I got down into Savannah, so this has been in the last 5 years or so, and I started playing out more, I felt myself shifting somewhat by necessity to playing what people wanted to hear. Because I'm playing bars and resorts and tourist spots. You want to take requests. You try to match the vibe of the place that you're playing. And so it just naturally, I started playing more what I thought people wanted to hear.
Right.
And since that reached a peak where I felt like I was losing something, and I was playing what folks wanted to hear, but not really things that I connected to and connected with. And so it started to shift back for me.
Right.
I started rearranging my sets and playing things that I either enjoy playing in my songwriting, things that were going on in the world, like the song "Who Are We?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And and I wrote that very much. That was in the midst of that shift in my songwriting and artistic paradigm, trying to get back to, and vocally too, as I was trying to learn to be a better vocalist. I spent so much time focusing on how I was singing something and trying to make it sound better and better and do it more and more correctly.
Right.
That I began to lose touch with singing it authentically.
Right.
And so I started that song was very much in that shift of trying to sort of reconnect with writing and singing and playing the way that I wanted to, and that I felt something was that I really had something to convey and write something that was more important than just something to tap your foot to.
Right. No, I get it. Authenticity is very important. One of the things I keep telling people is that during the pandemic, people were tired of everything that said, oh, this is fake news. They wanted to gravitate towards something that they could believe in. They wanted hope.
Mm-hmm.
We're tired of fakeness. And so I think a lot of people got a chance to listen to a lot of independent artists. You know, in my opinion, a lot of independent artists write from the soul and the heart. They're more authentic than a lot of these mainstream artists out there. We tend to write our own music. It's only us. You know, there's mainstream artists that have 12 songwriters to one song, which is ridiculous. Nobody's getting paid on that. It's just stupid. And I just don't understand why they do that. Now I'm going to play your song, I Wish I Had a Hometown. Tell us what that's about.
Well, as I've that's quickly become. I wrote that song. Speaking of co-writes, I did have a couple of co-writers on this one.
Okay.
It was a notion that I brought to the right. I had a good bit of what became the chorus already done and the melody done, but I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with it. And you know how I think what is now the chorus was originally a verse and things like that. And so I wasn't sure where to go. I knew I felt like it was something worthwhile and that had potential as a song, but I just had no clear sense of direction. And so I brought it into a write with Taylor Marie Wagner and Stephanie Ryan, and we sat down and worked on it, and it quickly became it immediately became one of my favorite songs that I have, just because as I sort of alluded to in the conversation, I moved around quite a bit. Started in Savannah, bounced around the Southeast, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, wound up in southern Missouri, then moved to Arkansas. Now I'm back in Savannah. And through all that, I never really felt like I was quiet and reserved and didn't make friends really easily. And usually about the time I finally started opening up and making friends, circumstances just dictated that it was time to move.
Right.
And so I never really felt like I had the connection in that little core group of friends, you know, that you're friends for life, or you got all these memories of growing up and hanging out all through school and everybody learning how to drive together and and bonfires, all that stuff. I mean, I have a few of those moments, but not that, you know, the guys that I played Little League, started in playing Little League football and then, you know, all the way up through our last senior game together kind of thing. I wish I had that sometimes. Sometimes I'm glad I don't. But, and so this song was, it has many of those elements in it. It's just it's an honest song about, for me is you know, and even though it was a co-write, it's very much a song that's personal to me, and that it is exactly something that I very much relate to and wish that I did have at times.
Right. All righty. Well, let's play it here.
Same three numbers by the front door. The same old chair on the front porch. A red bicycle and a baseball cap. I'd be alright with having that. I wish I had a few old friends to reminisce on where life began. Where everybody waves and knows your name. The whole town shows up for a football game. Where every stoplight, every street sign reminds me what I don't have. And I wish I had a hometown, low back roads to drive down, memories on every corner, crazy things I how my life could have been. I'd have stood real steady on solid ground. 'Cause roots run deeper when you settle down. Every stoplight, every street sign reminds me of what I don't have. I wish I had a hometown, low back roads to drive down. Memories will never come, crazy things I never do now. A fucking life that was a hayfield, Friday nights were a big deal. An old town where I used to drive around. I wish I had a hometown. Every stoplight, every street sign. I wish I had a hometown, low back roads to drive down. Memories on every corner, crazy things I never do now. A fucking life that was a hayfield, where Friday nights were a big deal. An old town square I used to drive around. I wish I had a
I like it. I think it's a hit.
Thank you.
Now, you have an album coming out soon. Tell us about that.
Well, yes, that's part of that song is I think the lead off song. And I say it started off as mostly an acoustic project with partnering with Tom Cooler, who's a staple in the Savannah music scene and runs the Savannah Songwriter series, which a great collection of some of the really talented singer-songwriters in Savannah. They get together once a month and do a writers round similar to the Nashville Rights and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it's affiliated with like the Nashville, International Association of Singer-Songwriters and stuff, but it's something similar to that.
Okay.
And writers in the round kind of thing.
Mm.
And he has different people on every week, but he's been doing that for years. Been playing down here, very well known, well respected in the area. And then we recorded at a little local studio here that was Eddie Rocks was our sound engineer on that. And it just started off. It's an acoustic album. It was something we wanted. We just wanted something to get some songs together and started.
Right.
And then, of course, Eddie got carried away with that song. We all like that song, so he wanted to start adding stuff in and having fun with it. And so now it's a hybrid between an acoustic thing and some additional effects. And I also think that that song in particular is one that is real high on the list as far as being revisited and really take our time with it and dig into it. But yeah, that EP, I have the physical copies of it now, and I'm selling them at some of my shows and passing them out here and there. It's a five song EP, and we're still waiting on the digital to get a confirmation on the digital release.
Right.
But of course, as soon as I have that, I'll pass that information along, I'm looking very forward. It's been a long time coming. I'm looking forward to having
Yes, it has.
No.
I've been asking you for years now. Okay, Levi, when you releasing some music? It's been 100 years.
I know. Well, I'm trying to. I've just here within the last week, I've been talking with Mr. Tom about getting together and beginning in probably late March, early April, putting together a summertime EP. Okay, I have more another side of my songwriting that is just a little more fun, more up tempo, and less heavy duty. And so I want to put together another 5 or 6 song EP and put that out for the summer.
Well,
and
I can't.
I would like to.
Roll. You're on a roll. You went from badly. I'm not. The song's not ready. You know me. Blah blah. To one album out, then another EP out. I love it. I love it.
Well, yeah. I'm the worst. I mean, because I have the song that I worked on in Nashville about a little over a year ago. And I love it. It's one of my very favorite songs that I wrote with Stephanie Ryan, who I mentioned earlier, who has a great collection of music and big things happening for her as well. And I love it's called "Let's Go Out Tonight." I love the song. There's just a couple little things that I wish I could tweak and change. But it's mastered now, and so now I've got it. I just need to. I guess I need to kick it out at some point.
Yeah, I think so. Now, tell me about your experience at Enmark Arena and Riley Green.
Oh yeah, that was matter of fact just a couple of days ago. This past Sunday night, it came about sort of unexpectedly. I had been playing a gig in Savannah at a rooftop place, and at the end of the night, this fella came up and he introduced himself, and we exchanged business cards, and he was the manager or entertainment manager for a different venue. And he said, "Well, we'd potentially we'd love to have you come and play there." Which is a great venue in Savannah, and I would love to play there. It never did come to fruition.
Right.
But we stayed in contact, and then a couple months ago, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, we've got this End Market Arena. It's a really nice. It's built right outside of Savannah. The Riley Green show is the first show there. It's brand new. It's not really big, but it's a really nice venue. They've got quite a few major shows booked. I think Morgan Wallen is coming in the next couple of months anyway. Keith Urban. They've got the Eagles, I think, are stopping in. Right. So they have quite a lineup established already. And it was he reached out and he said, "Well, hey, we got End Market Arena is getting ready to get started, and then Riley Green is playing. And would you be interested in? We're looking for someone to play like a pre-party. And so, would you be interested? And are you available and interested?" And I was, "Well, yes, on both counts, of course." And so I jumped on that opportunity, and they've been wonderful to work with. We had a blast playing. Mr. Tom Cooler again helped me with working my sound and stuff like that. And the idea behind it is really a great idea, I think. After talking with being there, it's a really cool space. They're still developing it and working on getting everything lined out just right. But by late spring, early summer, they want to have everything finished up. And the concept is, which is new to me. And then, please tell me if you've heard of anything like it. But this whole pre-party idea. Of course, you have your concert. Like I think Corey Smith opened for Riley Green, and then there was I'm drawing. I hate it. I'm drawing a complete blank on who is the first opener. There's 2 opening acts, and I hate that. But the idea is before you have your primary act and your opening acts, and the main touring acts come through. But while everybody is queued up outside and hanging out and waiting to get in the doors like they do, everybody just gets there and waits for a couple hours to get in. They want to turn it into an actual event unto itself. This pre-party thing, and have their food trucks and beer vendors and have live music outside, and just sort of turn it into almost like a college tailgate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Before a football game, which I think is a brilliant idea.
No, that is smart.
It's a ton of fun, and it was cold and dreary and nasty Sunday afternoon by Savannah standards, at least. But we had a blast, and it especially being as cold as it was, and which is I'll probably get grief for elaborating on it, but it was right around 40 degrees or so, but kind of rainy and gray and just generally nasty. And down here on the coast, that kind of weather gets cold and awful in a hurry.
Right.
Because of the humidity. It's the same reason that 85 degrees down here can feel like just a blanket. It's terrible. So the flip side is also true, where 40 degrees can feel just miserable. In that circumstance, I was freezing, but I was having a blast playing, and it made the wait outside for people while they're waiting to get inside. It made it much more bearable, I think.
Yeah. It's something to have fun. Yeah.
Absolutely, but it was just really it all worked out great. It really was an honor for me to be a part of a brand new arena, major event arena, at their opening weekend, opening show, and to be associated with a cool establishment like that, and Riley Green, who's one of my favorite country artists these days, was a tremendous opportunity, and I'm so thankful to have been a part of it.
Awesome. And I'm sure there's more opportunities to come. Now, you also won 2021 Georgia Country Awards Male Artist of the Year. And you were in the top 6 finalists in 2020. Now you're becoming a true star. I remember you were just a little whippersnapper.
Well, I don't know how that. I'm not real sure how that came about. Again, that's another one of the things I'm extremely honored and appreciative to have been included in the lineup and to have made been in the finalist the last 2 years, and then to win it this year. I was true to form. Well, true to form to me. I wasn't at the award show. I was playing a gig.
Right.
I was in Savannah.
That.
And I figured I might as well. I mean, that was playing gigs and staying busy was the reason I was in the running, so I might as well keep doing it. And of course, I really had no expectation at all of winning it, or I might have made a bigger effort to be there. But so I was about halfway or 2/3 of the way through my gig, and I got a text that said, "Hey, you won."
You were like,
"What?
Who? Me? What?"
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
You work hard.
Yeah,
you play.
It's a great thing. There's some really talented musicians. Georgia artists, and Georgia has turned out some amazing musicians over the years, and in the country music world and classic rock world. And so the Georgia Country Awards does a great job of sort of highlighting the independent and local artists around the state, and trying to bring them in and give them a place to play in an award show and showcase in the fall of the year. And so I'm really and truly, it's a voting thing. You know, they have multiple rounds of voting, and so it's very much a people's choice kind of,
right,
which makes it that much more special to have won it this year. So I finally did, because I wasn't at the award show, I finally did get the little trophy thing in, and I've got to take a good picture with it, and for social media, and so they can post it on their website. So if I want to try to find a nice place to take the picture that's not my living room.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like I can do better than that.
Right.
And but I do need to hustle along. So sooner rather than later, I'll have a picture up of that.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to you, Levi Moore.
Well, thank you.
Well, Levi, it's been great having you on Chatting with Nat.
Well, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it, and you know, while I have the opportunity, I owe you a big thank you as well, just for your support and encouragement over the years, and advice with different things, and I really truly do appreciate it, and thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm always here for you whenever you need me. And I can't wait to do our Instagram Live next week. That's going to be a lot of fun. You'll get to perform a song or two.
Well, I'll be ready.
You're going to sing something. All right. Well, if anybody wants to see or learn more about Levi Moore, you can go to www.levimooremusic.com. He's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. He's going to be everywhere. He's not on TikTok. You haven't done TikTok yet. You need to get on TikTok. You can do live on TikTok as well.
I have an account, but I don't use it.
You gotta get on there and do something. TikTok is interesting. At first, I didn't want to get on it, and then I was posting, me singing, or I have my cats on there, or I'm being stupid on there. But there are like different things that you can learn on there. Some people do serious stuff, like, did you know that you could do this? And you're like, what? I've been doing this all wrong and stuff like that. But it just takes a lot of time. It just takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to come up with ideas. Lord have mercy. I'll be on all the time, and ideas will come in my. I'm like, okay, let me jot this down. Let me remember this. But yeah,
it's a great platform.
It's crazy.
It is a lot of fun. I need to work on being more active with that. I'm still not much of a Twitter person, but I think I could probably do a little more with TikTok.
It's just that we have to be on every damn platform, so it's annoying. But that's the name of the music game. You have to be seen and heard. Oh my God. We had all the time in the world. But thank you again for being on Chatting with Nat. I can't wait to chat with you again next week. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yes, ma'am. You too. Thank you very much again.
All right, everybody. That was Levi Moore. Until next time on Chatting with Nat.